Japan feels almost unreal. The streets are spotless, yet there are barely any trash cans. Trains glide through packed stations in near silence, while people instinctively form perfect lines. No pushing, no chaos, just quiet order. How do Japanese parents raise kids who seem so polite, orderly, and considerate? Once you see how it works, you'll understand why you could never replicate it. In Japan, a child's early years revolve around their mother. Babysitters are rare, and daycare spots are limited. Most mothers leave their jobs to raise their children, making full-time caregiving the norm. This constant presence builds a deep bond before a child even steps into school. In many Japanese homes, families sleep in the same room. Child sleeps right in the middle of their parents, nestled between them on a shared futon. There's no separate crib, no distance between them. At night, if they stir, a gentle touch or the steady rhythm of their parents' breathing is enough to lull them back to sleep. This sleeping arrangement continues for years, sometimes well into elementary school. Even bath time is a shared experience. Instead of quick, solo baths, many Japanese families bathe together. Parents and children soak in warm water, chatting about their day. This isn't just for toddlers. Some children continue bathing with their parents until around 10 years old or even longer. In Japan, this is completely normal. But while Japanese children grow up in an environment of warmth and closeness, they also learn independence early. By the age of 4 or 5, they begin running errands on their own. A child carries a tiny backpack strapped securely to their shoulders. He is barely tall enough to see over the counter, walks to the corner store with a small shopping list and a few coins tucked in their pocket. Neighbors and shopkeepers keep a watchful eye, but no one interferes. The child is trusted to handle the task. At home, responsibility is part of daily life. Children as young as 3 help with small tasks. They fold laundry beside their parents, stir soup in the kitchen, and put away their own toys. There is no reward for these tasks. No sticker chart or words of exaggerated praise. Helping out is a natural part of growing up. Over time, these small habits become second nature. Discipline is also taught differently. Instead of raising their voices or using punishment, parents guide their children with patience. If a child throws a tantrum, parents don't immediately correct or scold them. They wait, they stay present. Eventually, the child learns to regulate their emotions on their own. This quiet approach teaches children to be aware of their actions and how they affect others. A spilled drink isn't met with panic or frustration. The child simply grabs a cloth and cleans it up. If a friend falls, they instinctively reach out to help. This is the art of considering others, a lesson not taught through words, but through experience, learned from the earliest years. By the time a child enters school, they have already learned the quiet balance between dependence and self-sufficiency. Before Japanese children start school, they are already expected to take care of themselves. There are no school buses picking them up at the doorstep. Instead, they walk, sometimes for miles, either alone or in small groups. Parents don't follow them, and teachers don't wait at the gate, but they are never truly alone. Adults in the community watch from a distance, stepping in only if absolutely necessary. This quiet oversight teaches children how to navigate the world with confidence, while knowing they are part of a larger, supportive network. By the time a child reaches 6, the foundation of responsibility has already been laid. School is simply where it is reinforced. The day begins with structured routines. Shoes are removed and neatly placed in cubbies. Greetings are given in unison before the first lesson begins. And classrooms function like small communities where every child plays a role. Here, school also serves as a training ground for life. Lunchtime arrives, but there is no rushed shuffling through a food line. Instead, children push desks together, forming small clusters. They serve food to one another. Carefully, they ladle out steaming miso soup, distribute trays of rice and vegetables, pour milk into small cartons. They eat together, sitting in small groups, and when the meal is over, nothing is wasted. Plates are wiped clean, leftovers are minimal, and gratitude for the meal is emphasized. And then the cleaning begins. You will be surprised. There are no janitors in most Japanese elementary schools. No adults sweeping hallways or scrubbing desks. That duty belongs to the students. Every day, they sweep floors, wipe down desks, scrub sinks, and even clean the bathrooms. These are simply part of the daily routine. Taking care of their own space fosters respect for shared environments. Everyone must contribute. When recess begins, children run freely across the schoolyard, climb onto wooden structures, chase one another with wild laughter. There are no hovering teachers directing play, no constant intervention. When conflicts arise, children are expected to resolve them on their own. The loudest child does not automatically win. And when the bell rings, the energy folds back into discipline. Without being told, children line up and walk back to class in sync, settling into their seats with little prompting. The expectation to follow structure is so deeply embedded that discipline becomes an instinct rather than something imposed. By the time a Japanese child completes elementary school, they have learned far more than reading, writing, and arithmetic. They have learned to move within a structure, to take responsibility without being asked, to see themselves not as individuals, but as part of a collective rhythm. And so, as they walk home in their small groups, their voices low, their backs straight, the lessons of the day do not feel like lessons at all. They are simply a way of being. As Japanese children transition into adolescence, hierarchy becomes more pronounced. Rules become stricter, and academic pressure intensifies. The morning trains are packed. Rows of students in identical uniforms, their eyes heavy, their bodies swaying with the rhythm of the carriage. Some flip through vocabulary flashcards, others nap standing up, their exhaustion tucked beneath the quiet. High school in Japan is a relentless march toward the future. And once inside, the pressure does not let up. Because nothing looms larger than the National Center test. By the second or third year, the entire high school experience becomes a countdown to this moment. The stakes could not be higher. A single number can determine whether a student enters Tokyo University or a lesser-known school. It is about status, about career prospects, about family honor. A student who secures a spot in a top-tier high school is on a direct path to Japan's most prestigious universities. A student who falls short will find their options narrowing before they even turn 16. So free time barely exists. Social life is dictated by the school's rules. Dating is discouraged. Even sleep becomes a luxury. Students often nod off at their desks, their arms folded into makeshift pillows between classes. The weight of textbooks, flashcards, and bento boxes bears down on their backs, not just physically, but mentally. There is no time to falter. No space for doubt. Every moment is accounted for, every hour an opportunity to push forward. Even those who do not aspire to university face the same unrelenting structure. Many high schools operate like military institutions, under the belief that a student's sole responsibility is to study. By the time they return home, there is barely enough time to eat, bathe, and collapse into bed before it all begins again. And yet, despite the exhaustion, despite the weight of expectation, there is no rebellion. The system is too deeply ingrained, and so, day after day, they continue. Because in Japan, high school is not just about growing up. It is about proving you are ready for the real world. By the time Japanese students leave school, they are already so accustomed to discipline, structure, and responsibility. Job hunting follows a uniform process. University students dress in identical black suits, polished shoes, and leather briefcases. They need to go through a series of company seminars, written exams, and panel interviews. These are all designed to test whether a candidate fits within the group. Brilliance alone does not secure a job. Harmony does. They need to show they can blend in. Once inside a company, the hierarchy is clear. New employees are at the bottom of the hierarchy. They bow deeper, speak humbly, and listen more than they talk. They follow their seniors, learning the unspoken rules of corporate life. To move up, one must endure. Working overtime and long work hours is expected, and personal sacrifice is often necessary. You should arrive before your boss, and it is unthinkable for you to leave before them. And even outside the office, those childhood lessons stick. Take a businessman, for example. He is totally drained after a 14-hour shift, hopping on a packed train. It's packed, shoulder to shoulder, the air thick with exhaustion. But still, it's silent. No one's talking loudly into their phone. No one's shoving for space. Just quiet, disciplined order. It's kind of amazing when you think about it. The same person who used to scrub their elementary school classroom floor now instinctively cleans up a shared table at a cafe. The one who bowed to their teachers now bows to clients, bosses, even strangers. And that kid who carried their own backpack without a fuss? Now they're carrying the weight of their entire career in the same quiet, steady way. Even the little things show how deep this upbringing goes. Like the way people exchange business cards. Both hands, a slight bow, a pause to really see the person in front of you. Or how lines just form naturally at train stations or ticket counters. No one has to say a word, it just happens. But let's be real, that kind of discipline comes with its own pressure. The same grit that builds a strong work ethic can also make it hard to stop, to rest, to say no. The fear of messing up the harmony, of being a bother, runs deep. These expectations become too much, that some people break under it. For many young people in Japan, this pressure is turning into real social problems. But that's a story for another time. If you're curious, drop a comment below, and we just might cover it in a future video. From the first shared bath to the last bow at retirement, Japanese parenting isn't just about raising kids, it's about shaping a way of life. A child walks to school alone, trusted by their community. A student cleans their classroom without being told. An adult moves through the world with quiet discipline. I didn't mention much about parenting techniques because no one had to teach them, they just absorbed it. And because they are part of an entire social system, reinforced by schools, workplaces, and society at large. It thrives when everyone upholds the same values: responsibility, structure, endurance. You can teach your child to carry their own bag, but will the world around them allow them to walk alone? You can encourage tidiness, but will their school, their peers, their environment expect the same? Most of us won't raise our kids like Japanese parents do. But maybe, just maybe, some lessons are worth bringing into our own world.